High Hat Ranch was bought over the course of several transactions by my grandfather, Herman Turner, in, from 1943 to 1945. Originally, he purchased 27,000 acres from a man named Ross Beeson. Mr. Beeson had bought the land for his son, basically, and developed a pine plantation and kind of a sportsman's paradise, as it were. He did not have cattle back then. He bought the land and started planting pine trees, and his son went off to World War II, got killed in the South Pacific, and Beeson kind of lost interest in the land. My grandfather had done some construction work for him, building farm roads and pushing fence lines. My grandfather was a road builder, so he had a heavy equipment, and so he pushed roads up and built dams and dug lakes. And when Beeson's son was killed in the war, Mr. Beeson asked my grandfather if he would be interested in buying the ranch. My grandfather's parents owned a general merchandise and livery stable in downtown Bradenton, and my grandfather had gone to Georgia Tech and laid out roads, or studied engineering, and he laid out roads in Bradenton and built some airfields around Southwest Florida as part of the contracting team for Page Field and Fort Myers and Venice Airport and Bradenton Sarasota Airport. And he was looking for something else to do and thought that getting in the land business would be a good thing. Back then, he couldn't afford land in Manatee County. It was too expensive. Sarasota County was the more reasonable price land. So he and Mr. Beeson made a deal, and over the course of a couple of years, he purchased the land, got in the cattle business with a partner from Oxford, Florida, a guy by the name of Clyde Bailey. And Mr. Bailey taught him the cattle business, and so that was kind of the beginnings of the ranch. Over the course of the next 20 years, I guess, from 1945 to 1965, my grandfather managed the ranch, and then my uncle came along and stepped in for my grandfather on the day-to-day basis after he got back from Korea. And then we've started expanding into other areas of agriculture, citrus, and the cattle business grew. But this land down here in the forest was native Florida hardwood hammock, and then a little bit of what is now the forest was planted pines that were planted originally by Beeson in the late 30s, early 40s. There's a lot of wildlife in the woods out here. There's turkey and Florida white-tailed deer, a lot of different birds, wild hogs, of course, a lot of turtles. But yeah, it's a beautiful piece of woods, and the homes that are in here really complement the natural surroundings.